Welcome back, y'all. This is Austin Milk. We're back with Babylon Radio, Rastafari, out of the mean. We're doing what we do. Coming back with more truth talk. This evening's podcast is going back into Rastafari history and some ties we see in pop culture today and what's going on with hip hop and other politic activist movements going on in the world right now. Got Wiz Khalifa on the mixtape, keeping it Rasta, you know what we do. But all I gotta say is what we're gonna talk about on Babylon Radio is what Rastafari has to bring forth in pop culture and why there's so much skepticism upon Rastafari and really what it stands for. Alright, well, this is Ryan, Awesome Mo, back on with Babylon Radio. We're going to go ahead and start talking about different things I've been sharing on School of Rastafari. What's interesting about the history of Rastafari is a lot of people who aren't even familiar with the background and the history of Rastafari don't understand that Christianity is the foundation of Rastafari, and the mysticism behind Rastafari is to uphold the mysticism behind Christianity. And what we're going to learn is that Haile Selassie was a man that put forth research upon ancestral history into a doctrine and a vision and what some would call a hierarchy way of taking a Christian perspective of really total authoritarian power, but that's going into politics and digging into government, and as an American, I mean, we run everything on politics, but I mean, politics are in any sort of a country's social infrastructure. But with that said, I'm gonna go over some of these posts I've been sharing, and I'm briefly gonna touch on them. I shared something off a page called Livity. Rastafari. We believe in liberty, and what we say about liberty, Mon, is that it's the spiritual empowerment behind a man or woman's will to flourish their spiritual will and to give back a spirituality upon earth and upon life, and that's a profound ideology of Rastafari. It's something that's I don't want to put it in an advertisement sense, because we'll dig into how Rastafari got caught upon propaganda, but is more of what I teach as a philosophy, and Livity is a part of that philosophy, and it's where the root wisdom comes from of positivity, man, and the familiar reggae vibe of positive vibrations. But I'm gonna click on this post, and it says, as long as you're dependent on other people solely for your jobs, your house, the cleaning of your streets, the education of your children, the image you see on television, or the image of God in your church, you can cut it any way you want to. You are a slave. Please comment and share. Give thanks. So I didn't really read that too close to the first time, but I did catch it. And it's talking about the social structure we live in is a form of slavery. The whole philosophy and illustration of you slave work to the mon, and that depiction of what really is society is found in almost any type of society, especially America. But I'm gonna leave that at that. I'm gonna dig back into what that page is all about. But it deems interesting because that it's Rastafarian background. Then I caught something else. This is on Ross Books, Rasta Cultura, Truth Brewery. Kind of cool page. It's about some mysticism, archive library of mystic books and whatnot. And this was a magazine that was distributed as Rastafari Mystic back in October 2011. I haven't digged deep into it, but if I do come across a PDF, I want to go into some of the writings that are behind of Rastafari and what I put down on this page is another form of documenting my research. So hopefully that will pop back up. And then I've been talking about Rastafari. I got a photo of Rastafari saying straight out of the tribes of Israel. And Israel is the truth, man. Yeah, Israel is Zion, man. Birthplace of Bethlehem, man. And the philosophy of Zion will be something we'll dig into, and that's a good place to take things. I might start bringing the Zionist movement history alongside this page, and we'll dig into what Zionists are all about and how that entails behind Rastafari. But a lot of people also refer to Zion being Africa, and that is another mysticism illustration. But that's root wisdom to upholding Africa being a holder of wisdom, and that's true. And it plays with Zion. But as I would teach the truth of Zion would be Israel. Israel is Zion. And then I came across what we'll dig into is you'll hear different historical holidays found in any faith. And in Rastafari, there's a holiday called Groundation Day, and it deals behind Haile Selassie and his connection to Jamaica, and the politics and the spiritual enlightenment that was brought forth by His Imperial Majesty, and the people behind the activism that was done in Jamaica. And I'm gonna read this brief excerpt, and this was just pulled off a website, so we'll see what they've read up on. The title Ras, or head in Aramaic, is similar in Ethiopia to mayor or governor of a district. Tafara is the first name of the last emperor of Ethiopia, before taking his crown name of Haile Selassie, born to Tafari Makonnen. July 23rd, 1892. He would inherit the land of Hira from his father and become Ras of that region of the country. His father fought side by side with the ruling king Menelik II against the first Italian invasion of Ethiopia. Makanan Senior impressed Menelik II to such a degree that he would pass the crown of Ethiopia unto his son Tafari. Menelik II had no sons of his own. Even at a very young age, Tafari was a very wise and intelligent person, with a knack for foreign languages. His battle to crown was not an easy one. Being in line for the king Negus of Ethiopia, he was given a second name at birth, one that he would take upon receiving the crown, Haile Selassie. It really, it really depicts what I have caught in another article about what I was talking beforehand. This being a royalty brought upon by his father, and interestingly enough, his father was a ruling king, and was the one that fought the first Italian invasion of Ethiopia, and this digs into World War II history as well. So we're gonna dig it down and keep that foundation of Rastafari, and really understanding his imperial majesty and his royalty to Ethiopia, and that furthermore worldwide, in the respects of his Orthodox Christian outlook on his empowerment. And I was saying, when was that's going to be a foundation of what I believe to be the beginning of how Rastafari became born. And then I got a cool little piece of liturgy. And this is obviously done online, but I'm going to read it. And this is coming from the line of the Judas Society. I have not dug in their background, and I know it's directed to Africa and Jamaica roots, and I'll be referencing more what they are. There's some interesting things outputted, and this piece of liturgy pamphlet reads: Rastafari Holy Sacrament, Liturgy of the Ethiopian Church, 1959, Annapurna of St. Mary. Truly this is the offering which those whose spirits are artified cannot taste. It is not like the sacrifice of the forefathers, which depended on the blood of sheep and oxen and cows, but it is fire. It is fire, giver of life, to the upright in the heart who fulfill his will. It is a consuming fire. It is the unrighteous who deny his name. And that is kind of the envisionment behind the liturgy. And this is, if you don't know what liturgy really means, liturgy is part of doctrine, and it's how almost what you would call a church is written. Rastafari is not a church. It has churches. It has churches. But this is interesting. The eternal flame is depicted in this. That's what I kind of got from it. And then lastly, I touched on African. I shared an article that says African and Christianity in Ethiopia. This is more what we're going to learn as the rooted Orthodox Christian faith that was kept in Africa, and why Africa has a reputation of Orthodox Christianity. But what I'm going to read from here, let's see. I'm going to pick something because I haven't gone over the article. I recommend you guys reading it. But it says, I'll just read the beginning. The adoption of Christianity in Ethiopia dates to the 4th century reign of the Kumasite Emperor Ezana. Kuzum's geographical location at the southernmost edge of Hellenized Near East was critical to its conversion and development. The kingdom was located along major international trade routes through the Red Sea between India and the Roman Empire. The story of Ezana's conversion has been reconstructed from several existing documents. The ancestral histories of Rufinus and Socrates' Scholasticus both recount Frumentrus and youth from Tyre was shipwrecked and sent to the court of Aksum. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop there because there's a lot of interesting names I can that I'm trying to pronounce to my best. But the gist is this is history of different power. This goes back to Socrates and the philosophy of Rome. And the different empowerment that ties even back to Africa. So this is interesting because these philosophies were stories that didn't even deal with Christianity, especially found in Greek mythology, which is a lot of Plato and Socrates and the philosophies that are behind Greek mythology in Rome. I want to go ahead and furthermore that the school of Rastafari is really a love of Freemasonry, of digging and kind of piecing the puzzle. As I take a minute to smoke, I want to put on a little music, and then I'm going to go to a part I call Breaking the Book. Rastafari, back to the little Wiz Khalifa Mon.
To a motherfucker like you still need a reminder. Yeah, I thought so. Shit, I'm loco. 38 brown head, I call a coco. Stick around the block, boy, tell them go. Won't stop shooting till you all red, though. Y'all don't say motherfucker shit a kill hoe. Why you all tough folks? Get thug ass lady at the crossroad. The landlord turned your lieutenant into a tenant, and if your rim spinning, your jaws did it. I'm a grown man, dog. I ain't kidding.
Man, you know, as a Rasta, man, the acceptance, man, the power behind marijuana, man. Well, man, it's the teaching of acceptance, man. Accept to learn, man, and learn to accept. I am on Rastafari. Alrighty, yeah, that was I don't know who that was on the track, but this is Wiz Khalifa Taylor Adderrice to mixtape. It's a double hip hop mixtape. But back to what I was talking about. I'm gonna go into a section I call Breaking the Book. I'm gonna tell a little story. Back when I was first experimenting with some MDMA, I had taken a trip to San Francisco, and on this trip I had an encounter with some man down in the city, and we went on and to get into conversation. And as we got to share our story a little bit, he offered a place to sleep, and I had gone there with some friends, and I told him, I was like, man, that's all San Francisco was about. I would never hear that back in my hometown. But I told him things I was good. But it played out that San Francisco a mentality of what I'm gonna teach as being what Christ taught as the open door, and what the morality of the open door really is, to the truth of curing poverty and the history it's found in spirituality as well. But as I like to mix things up, and I like to touch different subjects. I like to go into different topics that make for good listening. I hope people that come across my podcast that enjoy what I have to share and talk about find that the main reason for this is to learn things and to discover things and to build your own spirituality and what you stand for and what you want to do in life. And this is my outlet to kind of go back and tell some stories and how I found that college wasn't what it deemed to be. And that will be part of the story of how I see the future and how I see that college is something that is actually going to be something that breaks a cycle, and it is kind of corporate. It's going to sell out to corporation and be not the society that envision itself upon such a monopoly game. That's kind of how the future looks. We that's all we see is school, more school, different kind of school. That will get you here, that will get you there. You can take this loan, or you can take that approach. But people don't really understand what can happen with what is held, and that is power of the people, and that's what I'm reaching out to, and I want to preach, but I don't preach. I teach, and I teach myself a lot. And as any teacher would say, practice, or coach would say, practice makes perfect. But that's not the point. The point is the morality of the truth behind what we really live in is it's like how much of it is thrown to the side just to say that to hell of it. And Rastafari is not about that. Rastafari is something that it's a flourishment. It's the most powerful thing in the world, and Rastafari will never see a day of disappearance. It's something that should have evolved and been understood by mankind, but was thrown to the side of history and hidden for a reason of a good portion of history, which I would say the last 2 centuries has told the stories of many wars and the stories of many men of power, money, and lavish, and well, not just talking what we see in 21st century. I'm talking the political government power in the world wars, and what we get into in today. Reality of what we live in now, thinking of terrorism, and terrorism being the constant foundation of radical it's interesting. Killing. You can call it killing, or you can call it evil. But Islam is going to be the deepest mystery. The deepest mystery I dig into. And I don't call Islam evil. But terrorism is evil. So I'll leave it as that for now. I'm gonna try to get this blunt loaded again, and I'm gonna finish with treating the mic. Give me a second. So how I do it Rastafari. Well, you see, Rastafari, well, is culture, man. And culture always spoke for itself, man. And if you wanted to represent culture in the manner of, self-righteousness, life never denied that will. And culture also said if you wanted to put down that self-righteousness and recognize your culture for what it's worth, there's a way to do so, and there's a way of living, and there's a spiritual belief, and that is Rastafari. And as this spiritual enlightenment is shared, I think people will learn what more of what the true evil of the world is. And I share that Rastafari is part of that acceptance of learning what that really means. A lot of people don't take themselves to this, for they don't want to know, and there's other things in the world, and that's all fun and dandy, and I don't hold anyone accountable for what they take themselves to and what they decide to do with their what I call gift of life. But I do teach sensibility, and I do teach reality, and beyond reality. But point being is I don't bullshit, and I don't fucking bitch. I don't bitch. I don't bitch on the mic. I mean, here's some truth for you. Everyone bitches, but it's about knowing where to bitch at. Ja. But you know what I'm saying, man. Trippy shit, man. But all it ever was Rastafari, man. It's interesting because I think what I get out of what I get out right now. I'm 26 years old. I'm from San Diego, California. I've traveled a little bit, not a lot outside of the country, only really Mexico. I haven't been many places travel-wise, but that's a part of my pursuit, and to journalize more culture and what it has to offer. But I'm gonna leave with another message of what I was teaching, and what I'm gonna get this podcast back to. It's a Livity man. Jama, well, we teach it as a Rasta man. And if a Rastafarian were to say, well, you know what Livity is, man? Well, Livity is about giving it back to the good colors, man. The colors that said there's a way, man. But there's a way that, haha, man, it's Judaic truth, man. It's root wisdom, man. And, well, the Holy Scriptures taught, well, two parts of the Bible, man. They taught it, well, the New Testament and the Old Testament. But there was a mysticism behind the Old Testament. And that was, well, the first 5 books, man. And that's the Torah, man. And, well, we're going to learn why the Torah is, well, the birth of Christianity, man. And, well, how Judaism is, well, the root wisdom back to Christianity. As we further forward into learning how Rastafari holds the Bible, and what I was referring to as the Torah, as part of the scripture that carry forth the foundation of Rastafari. The mysticism will branch itself out into different areas of belief, and even into Eastern thought of Egyptian wisdom and Egyptian mysticism, and how that's evolved and gone back to Eastern Islam and radical Muslim, and how Christianity is still tied to Islam, and how the media doesn't really depict what is going on. And they try to say there's a war between Christianity and Islam. Yes, but no, and it's a no answer at the end of the day, because that's the depiction, but that's not the story, and that's a story I'm willing to help discover and teach back. But for now, for Rastafari, we believe in Livity, man. For the good spirit always gave it back, man. For if you gave positive vibes, man, you knew what it was, man. The good loving, man. Rastafari. God bless Rastafari.